Budding revolution, cannabis legalization gains momentum. Germany just made a big move. They're fully legalizing cannabis. This isn't just about letting people chill out, it's a sign of a global shift. For years, cannabis was a big no-no. Now countries are rethinking things. They're seeing that maybe, just maybe, the war on weed wasn't the best idea. It's not just Germany. Canada went all in on legal weed a while back. Parts of the US are jumping on board too. And let's not forget about places like Uruguay and South Africa. It's becoming clear the world is ready for a new conversation about cannabis. This change didn't happen overnight. For decades, people fought for legalization. They challenged old laws and outdated ideas. They pointed out the hypocrisy of locking people up for a plant. And slowly the world started to listen. This is just the beginning. As more countries legalize, we'll learn more about cannabis. We'll figure out the best ways to regulate it, and hopefully we can start to undo some of the harm caused by the war on drugs. Reefer madness to green rush, shifting perceptions of cannabis. Remember Reefer Madness, that old movie that made weed seem like a one-way ticket to insanity? Yeah, that was a load of, well, for a long time cannabis was demonized. It was portrayed as a dangerous drug that turned people into criminals, but times are changing. The Reefer Madness era is fading away. People are starting to see cannabis in a new light. They're learning about its potential benefits. Medical marijuana is helping people with chronic pain, anxiety, and even epilepsy. The green rush is here. Cannabis is becoming big business. From dispensaries to edibles, it's a whole new industry, and with legalization comes regulation. That means safer products and more informed consumers. Of course, there are still challenges. Stigma still exists. Misinformation is everywhere. But the more we talk about cannabis, the better. We need open and honest conversations about the risks and benefits. Cannabis versus alcohol, a question of harm reduction. Let's be real, alcohol is legal, but it's far from harmless. It causes addiction, accidents, and health problems. So why is cannabis still so controversial, especially when studies show it's less addictive and less harmful than alcohol? Now, I'm not saying cannabis is completely risk-free, but compared to alcohol, it's like comparing a slap to a punch. One might leave you red-faced, the other could land you in the hospital. The point is, we need to be honest about the harms of different substances. We can't ignore the dangers of alcohol while demonizing cannabis. It's time for a more rational approach. Harm reduction is key. Instead of throwing people in jail for cannabis, let's educate them. Let's provide support for those who need it. And let's focus on keeping people safe, regardless of their choices. Section 4, Unlocking the Truth, Challenges in Cannabis Research. Here's the thing about cannabis research. It's been seriously hampered. For years, scientists have faced roadblocks trying to study this plant. Why? Because of legal restrictions and outdated regulations. Imagine trying to study something that's illegal. It's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. You can get some answers, but the full picture remains elusive. But things are slowly changing. With legalization, researchers are finally getting the access they need. They're starting to unlock the secrets of cannabis, its effects on the brain, its potential benefits, and yes, its risks too. We're learning more about THC, the psychoactive compound in cannabis. We're studying different strains and their unique properties, and we're finally getting some answers to the questions that have lingered for decades. Section 5, Navigating the Hazy Path, Responsible Cannabis Use and Education. So, where do we go from here? Cannabis is here to stay, that's a fact. The question is, how do we navigate this new reality responsibly? Education is key. We need to teach people about cannabis, the good, the bad, and the hazy. We need to separate fact from fiction, and we need to have honest conversations about the risks involved. Just like with alcohol, moderation is crucial. Too much of anything can be a bad thing. And when it comes to cannabis, starting young can have long-term consequences. Our brains are still developing well into our 20s. We also need to be mindful of THC concentration. Modern cannabis can be much stronger than the stuff people were smoking in the 60s. This means the effects can be more intense, especially for first-time users. The bottom line is, cannabis is a powerful plant. It can be used responsibly for enjoyment or medicinal purposes, but it's not without its risks. Let's approach it with caution, common sense, and a commitment to education.